student to arrange a foursome. I have the details of what the teachers are accused of doing on a school trip. I'm Anjanette Levy, and this is Crime Fix. Alexia Salderas and Jennifer Larson were teachers at Joseph Craig High School in Janesville, Wisconsin, until the spring. The school district of Janesville.
What's up, YouTube? Today we're we're reacting to Crime Fix. Love these people, really do love them. And covering how two teachers got fired, two feminists got fired for having inappropriate relationships with their underage students and could very easily be facing some serious charges. Whether or not they'll get the same penalty they would if they were men, well, that has just to be seen. Let's get into it.
Investigation of the two teachers in April. Records released by the district show that Salderas and Larson attended a state DECA trip with students in February. No big deal. That's what teachers do. They go on school trips with students, they supervise. But what happened in early April is what resulted in them being placed on leave. Between April 7th and April 9th, on another trip, the records show that Larson and Salderas were Snapchatting with a student identified only as Student A, saying they would like to cuddle and have fun. They're also quoted as asking whether another student would want to come with them. The investigative document says Salderas gave the keys to his school van to Student A so he could get his clothes out of it and then allowed him to take a lap in the parking lot in the van. Then the document says Salderas and the student exchanged a, quote, half kiss, and she was changing her shoes by the van that day. On the evening of April 9th, the investigative document says that Salderas sent Student A 5 photos of herself in lingerie and undergarments. There were texts where the two discussed plans to meet that weekend. Then the next morning, on April 10th, the other teacher, Jennifer Larson, reported to superiors that Alexia Salderas allowed Student A to drive a school van. Then Salderas texted Student A that their relationship, that's what she called it, their relationship, needed to stop. And Student A agreed. The following day, on April 11th, a teacher told the principal of Craig High School that she saw a group of students crowded around a phone giggling. The teacher believes she saw a photo of Alexia Salderas in undergarments. The teacher tells the principal and the assistant district superintendent that she is 95% sure it was Alexia Salderas in the photos. That's when the district places Salderas on administrative leave. What happens next is redacted. It's blacked out in the investigative summary. This could relate to what the student told district officials. That evening, Jennifer Larson is also placed on administrative leave. 6 days later, on April 17th.
Now, the one thing I want to point out here, everybody, is notice how long it took for these teachers to get caught in the act. And which I find very odd. Because after all, with all these school shootings we've been hearing mainstream media talk about, do you really expect me to believe that these schools do not have security cameras that could have caught these teachers in the act the moment it got started? And the school could have been alerted and they could have stopped it right there. It didn't have to escalate to this point. That's one of the things I'm concerned about. But regardless, we've been seeing so many of this stuff happen in droves to the point where we're seeing even some news reports saying that there's an epidemic of this kind of behavior from female teachers here in the West. And the reason why is because they have every reason to believe they're going to get away with it. They do. Like even when I was in school, every time a girl or a woman made an allegation towards me, I was always automatically guilty till proven innocent. But whenever I made an allegation towards a girl, a female student, or a female teacher, it was always a question of doubt. As a reason why that's clearly not the case anymore, well, as you clearly see here, everything's digital now, and documentational evidence holds a lot more weight than word of mouth. It really does.
Interview Jennifer Larson, and she admits to the snaps discussing cuddling, flirting, and implying that alcohol would be involved in a possible meeting with a student. The assistant superintendent also confronted Larson about having a prior inappropriate relationship with a former student. Larson, according to the documents, admitted to starting a rumor about a current male student's former girlfriend. She said she didn't believe the girl was good enough for the student. Wow. On April 19th, the assistant superintendent met with both Larson and Salderis separately and told them it was being recommended that they resign and that their contracts would not be renewed. Both Salderis and Larson resigned. So the school district says that they've turned this matter over to the Janesville Police Department, which is investigating. So what kind of crime could exist here? Because from what I'm looking at, I'm not seeing one. I thought we should bring in an expert in prosecuting crimes to discuss this. She is Michelle Snodgrass. She is the Commonwealth's attorney for Campbell County, Kentucky. She's been prosecuting felony cases for 24 years. So, Michelle, thanks for coming on. You've seen it all doing this for 24 years. Are you seeing a crime in the documents that we have here in front of us right now?
Well, right now, the documents that they gave us don't tell us a whole lot. What we always look at as prosecutors is what is contained in the messages that could tell us there's more out there. And one of the things that stands out most to me is the message that said, we need to end our relationship. A relationship does not start over 5 text messages of a woman in lingerie. So that tells me there's more. When you look at the history between these two, there was a class trip that they were on with the students in February. So what happened between February and April? That is what is going to tell the police what they need to be looking at.
And I think you make a really good point there. This is at April 10th of 2024. It's in the morning, and it's after Jennifer Larson apparently reported to the principal that Alexia Salderis had allowed the students to drive around the parking lot in the district van doing the loop, as they said. And, Alexia says to student A that the relationship needs to stop and that student A agrees. So you're right. There was a period of time there in which something could have transpired. We just don't know what that was. And then we get to farther down in the documents, and there's a lot of stuff redacted. It's blacked out. I look at that and I'm thinking to myself, they had to have gone to the student. I'm assuming they went to the student and his parents and said, hey, what was going on here? So is that redacted because that might be part of a criminal investigation? It may be something that a minor has relayed to them.
Absolutely. So, as prosecutors, law enforcement, we do everything we can to protect children because we got to remember these are minor children. And so you have to treat them in a different way. You might take them to a children's advocacy center to be interviewed as opposed to being interviewed by the police. If they disclosed information, either through themselves or through their.
Okay, yeah, I can admit that. If your children have to be treated in a different way, yeah. They're not old enough to consent yet. They're not. And for any parents who are afraid that, hey, this could happen to your kid, or if you're having any type of bullying situation with your kid, well, like I said, documents hold a lot more weight than word of mouth. So I would recommend you to make sure the school knows that, like, hey, if any teacher has to have a conversation with my kid, that conversation has to be recorded. And recording needs to be sent to me immediately, unedited, and there also has to be another person with that student during that conversation. There would be no one-on-one non-recording conversations with my child. Absolutely not. If that school says no to this, you got your answer that school is not safe for your kid. Because let's face it, we all know there's only one real reason why a school would say no to a requirement like that. And I think that reason is right here. I really do.
school district is going to redact that for their protection. And I think that's important to say that there is more that we don't know about that the police are privy to. And that is what is leading them in their investigation, and the prosecutors as well. That's what's telling them whether or not criminal activity occurred. And at this point, I have to assume that there is more. We have a teacher talking to a student saying, let's meet up over the weekend. That means that there was more contact with them.
Yeah, we're talking about cuddling, possible alcohol use, all kinds of stuff. And there was a half kiss shared, apparently, with student A and Alexia Salderas. So that right there, I don't know if that could constitute anything, but teachers should not be doing half kisses with students. It's just not appropriate.
It's definitely not appropriate. And in fact, I think that is illegal. Same thing for going the alcohol use. So there is evidence of crime in just the documents alone. I honestly don't think there is. You know, but I've been noticing a kind of pattern where the majority of these cases, not all, but the majority of these cases, they happen to be female teachers. And I have a theory of the reason why that is. Because, like I said, back in school, when I was in school, there was this thing going on. I guess it was because of the feminist movement, where, like I said, anytime a female student made an accusation towards a boy, boy was automatically guilty till proven innocent. Anytime male student made accusation towards female student, it was always a question of doubt. Well, let's think about it. Those female students that I'm talking about, they're probably the women. They're probably are the ones becoming these teachers, and they want to go back to the school where they were able to thrive for actually behaving like that. So that could be the real reason why the majorities of these cases happen to be female teachers. Because hey, you did this kind of behavior when you were a student at this school, you got away with it, so why can't you get away with it if you're an actual teacher at that school? The reason why you're not getting away with it anymore is because technology, like cameras everywhere nowadays. Everybody has a smartphone now. Yeah, we live in a world of paper now more than ever. We really do. Anyways, that's all we got time for today, everybody. Y'all have a nice day now. See ya!